Hey everyone, this is Collects Fallen Stars, and this video is a continuation of my discussion on the development of Jeong TaeEul's feelings for Lee Gon in The King Eternal Monarch as a response to a criticism it received for having a slow pace and an underdeveloped relationship between the lead characters. As I said before, I just really love this drama so much. So if doing this convinces people to give it a try and dispel the idea that there's been no romantic development between the leads, then I'll be happy. Now, in a previous video, I talked about how Jeong Taeyeol's character explored the feelings that have been brewing beneath the surface of their interactions before she could even confirm his identity. Now, feel free to go back to those parts 1 and 2, and they cover episodes 1 until 4. Now, for this video, I will continue tracing the progression of Jeong Taeyeol's feelings for Lee Gon in episodes 5 until 6. Now, once she lands in the Kingdom of Korea and he gives her his name, Lee Gon, all bets were off. All protests she had in her head had been silenced at the face of this new reality. She now has to deal with this strange pull that she feels towards him. It had been easy in the beginning to say she was doing it out of duty, but when it became more than that, she could say it was out of pity because of what little she knows of his family history. But now she was there in Korea with him without any excuse. She was there for herself. She wanted to know this man. And in this episode, she got to know him without even spending much time with him. He wooed her, won her over with almost no effort on his part. Now, let's talk about the kiss, because this episode will definitely be remembered as the one where Lee Gon kissed her for the first time. Now, kisses are important, yes. It's a sign of a more visceral nature, something material that can affirm the physical attraction that had always been there. And she is aware that he's attractive. It's been overtly said numerous times in the first few episodes how attractive Lee Gon is. And Jeong Taeyeol, being a very physical person, is very much aware of it. However, what is more important to note is what she told him before the kiss, when he rested his head on her shoulder in a seemingly romantic gesture. She asked him, "You've never dated before, right?" And he said, "Yes, I have." And she said, "Should I guess when?" And then he challenged her, "Guess." And she says, with that face, "Now." So, I like how this works two ways, and they reveal the two layers of Jeong Taeyeol. This can first be understood as a challenge to Lee Gon, which is what he understood it as. It's a direct challenge to his experience in dating. She is basically saying he's absolutely clueless, an amateur to wooing girls. She is not impressed. And that's standard Jeong Taeyeol behavior, shooting down Lee Gon. However, underneath this bravado is a softer side of Jeong Taeyeol. This is the slightly insecure woman who has now seen how far away she is as a commoner from the other world to the king of this world. So, with this line, she's also asking, how many women has he been with? How many women has he treated this way? Is she special enough? How might she fare against the ghost of all those other women? And the twofold meaning of this line is what makes this scene so delicious, especially as Lee Gon took this moment to purposefully interpret her question in another way. After taking it as a challenge, he kisses her in order to prove to her that yes, he does know what to do on a date, he does know how to kiss, he has kissed before, but he actually evades her question by saying, "Okay, I kissed you, and now we are dating." And yet, at this point, neither of them have ever clearly stated how one felt for the other. But with this kiss and her being there voluntarily, they are both sure that something is there between them, something worth exploring and deepening. Otherwise, he wouldn't have persisted in reaching through her emotional wall, and she wouldn't be here in his kingdom with him, letting him in slowly. Also, I would like to point out how much I like that she did not recoil from a kiss, which can sometimes be the norm in most K dramas. Those surprise kisses can sometimes be cringy, even if it's meant to portray the innocence of the female character and the passion of the male character. Jeong TaeEul here is not a wilting little flower who can be shocked by a kiss, and I am here for it. Now, while she didn't recoil, she also didn't kiss back either, and I'm fine with that because she's not exactly someone who's easily overcome with passion. Now, you will see her reaction though in a flashback of this moment in the next episode, and it's only revealed much later how she reacted after that kiss. You see, he gave out telltale signs that he was going to kiss her by moving his hands up and around her face and angling his head towards her. He moved unhurriedly, not slow, not fast, unhurriedly. And because it was a gentler kind of surprise kiss, you can see how she had time to prepare for it. Her eyebrows moved up like she was confused as it was happening, and then you see her eyes focus on his lips. When their lips touched, you can see from her profile that her eyes had opened wide. She did not look in pain. She did not look like a kiss was forced upon her. She looked like a woman who was kissed by someone she would accept a kiss from, but had no idea how badly he had wanted to kiss her just then. And when Lee Gon moved back to declare that they are now dating, Jeong Taeil's face was the softest it could look, while simultaneously being amazed at the audacity of this man to just openly declare, okay, now we're dating, without even an I love you from the two of them. And then she quickly changes the subject, as Jeong Taeil would usually do. So I love Kim Go-eun here. That's it. I love Kim Go-eun. That is all I have to say. Okay. Now that we've established that there's a physical attraction here, it was time to put a little bit of substance into their relationship. Kisses don't make relationships, after all. Now, in the following morning, Jung Tae-il accompanied Lee Gon to some of his royal engagements, dressed as one of his security guards. Hold on. Yeah. Game. Seeing Lee Gon open a basketball tournament and give a lecture on math in a university made her realize how adored he was, not just for his looks, but for the way he interacted with his people and his intellect. He wasn't just some crazed maniac prattling on about a parallel universe. She got to see him as the king he said he was, and he was loved. He was magnetic. She walked around a country that looked beautiful, prosperous, peaceful, and most of it was because of his leadership. His country showed him to be a capable, powerful, yet graceful man. And for a strong, no nonsense woman like Jung Tae-il, all those traits were very attractive. Strength respects strength, after all. But for her, who had to grow up very fast because of an almost incapable father who would sometimes accept eggs as tuition fee for his taekwondo school, those traits would also mean that she can actually depend on Lee Gon. Jung Tae-il is characterized as someone who is a very capable detective and a skilled martial artist. Lee Gon often says what an amazing woman she is while watching her work a case. He looks at her almost like a savior. In the next episode, we will see more of her history with Kang Shin-jae, and he also looks at her like she was his savior. And she is. She did rescue him from living a thug life. At one point, she even held things together at her father's taekwondo studio. So now being a strong, independent woman is definitely a point of pride for her. But at times, it can also be very exhausting. And if she deems herself as strong, she needs someone equally as strong, if not stronger than her, before even considering to hold on to that person's hand when she needs help. Leon was exactly this kind of person. Another thing that possibly won her over was the fact that he didn't drag her all over the place while he had to fulfill his duties. He gave her space, as strong women often need it. He let her go and explore on her own, but not without keeping her protected through Jo Young. And in perhaps one of the sweetest gestures in the series, Lee Gon personally picked her up when she was stranded without a ride back to Busan Palace. It was a gesture that was perfectly timed. For Lee Gon, he had just finished all his duties for the day, so it wasn't much of a problem. But for Jeong TaeEul, who had spent the entire day exploring his kingdom and being reminded at every turn how much he had accomplished, how great a king he is, right down to a building-sized poster of him, all this greatness is bound to make her feel a little small, no matter how confident Jeong Tae-yeol is. And so when he picked her up in such a grand fashion, as what a king does, of course, ignoring protocol or risking being photographed together, it reminds her that Lee Gon will always be ready to shorten any kind of distance between them, whether it was king and commoner, or the infinite space between their two worlds. So by the sixth episode, Lee Gon is full on boyfriend mode, and this is just a continuation of when he picked her up uh, at KU building. Now, like I said, he's full on boyfriend mode, even though they haven't exactly put labels or even said "I love you" to each other. He is openly declaring his feelings to those near him, even his enemies. He let Prime Minister Koo see how he laughs in the presence of Jung Tae-yeol, which he has never done with her, nor with anyone else in public. And in his private plane, with two of his staff looking at them, he plays with her hands under the pretense of having a secret conversation, and also affirms to his secretary that Jung Tae-yeol is the woman that he had been talking to her about. Now, while Lee Gon is there enjoying the fact that he finally has Jung Tae-yeol by his side, she is on a different page, even though she's letting him get away with all this public displays of affection. Back in the palace, when he starts fixing her dinner, she tells him, "I was traveling around today, and I realized you must have been lonely in my world." And he asks, "Were you lonely here?" And then she answers, "It was frustrating to not have something that could prove my identity. Thanks for picking me up." This scene marks a clear shift in Jung Tae-yeol's perspective on Lee Gon. And true to her character, she communicates it properly and clearly. Having spent the entire day in an unfamiliar world, she gets to fully put herself in Lee Gon's shoes when he first arrived in her world. And it's not lost on her how horrible she was to him. She was the one who had constantly doubted him at every turn when he was trying to prove who he was to her. Now, once their places were switched, he gave her a wide berth, provided protection from afar, and only swooped in when she called for his help, instinctively knowing that this was what she needed to see things for herself. He was kind to her, gentle, right down to this moment when he's fixing dinner for her. Now, instead of giving her a hard time about how she had been mean to him, sorry. Now, instead of giving her a hard time about how mean she had been to him, he instead chose to focus on her loneliness while in his kingdom. He said, "Were you lonely here?" Her discomfort overrides any hardship he had experienced in her world. Now, although this does reveal a humbled, softened Jung Tae-yeol, it does not mean that she's jumping in with both feet into this thing with Lee Gon. This total admission that she had been wrong to treat him so harshly while he was in her world, and the thank you that followed, almost feels like a goodbye. Now that she has seen the truth that Lee Gon is the king from the Kingdom of Korea, she was also very much aware that she is from the Republic of Korea. While their parallel worlds are real, one rule for parallel lines is that they will never, should never meet. And this is why she didn't hug Lee Gon after he shared his history of betrayal at the hands of his uncle. This is why she keeps asking for her ID so she can go back to her world. And Lee Gon senses her instinct to pull away before she gets involved further with him, because that's what she's doing. At this point, she knows this won't end well for both of them. That's why she gave a resigned answer when Lee Gon said he was trying to make her jealous over a mystery woman he had prepared a meat dish for. She says, "I can't beat that person anyway. Whoever it is, that person must be from this world." She is trying to withdraw further and further away from him by saying this. I am not from your world, I am not fit for you. But then Lee Gon chooses this moment to give her her ID card in order to drive home the fact that he doesn't care about them belonging to different worlds. Her ID card came to him at the most important part of his life, and while it's still an unsolved mystery for him, he seems to have taken it as fate at work. He says, "It seems like a difficult question to solve, but there must be a simple and beautiful formula for it. And you are the answer I've been looking for. From now on, I will prove it one by one. Whoever it is and whichever world that person is from, you've beat that person. So don't you decide alone to leave like that." And with this, he pulls her right back into him. He is telling her that he refuses to let her go and downplay her importance in his life. She's connected to, if not the reason why he survived. She's the reason why he is here in the first place, and he swears to her that he will prove it and make her see for herself, the way he's done before when she had doubted him. Now, when he tells her this last line, "So don't you decide alone to leave like that," he essentially has solidified them as a couple in the most base sense of the word, not the lovey dovey boyfriend girlfriend, let's go steady now type of feel. They are together now, a couple, two people taken as one. That's why important decisions have to be made by the two of them together. Although he knows he has the power to stop her from leaving him with just one command, he won't do it because they're both adults and not a modern day representation of Beauty and the Beast. There will also be no silent self sacrifice for the happiness of the other. There will be no fading away into the night or disappearing forever into the other world. I mean, that's good if you're looking for high drama, I guess, but this couple isn't after that. They're surprisingly just a they're surprisingly just a normal couple trying to stay together but with unusual circumstances. See, normal couples communicate properly. Whatever happens to them will be decided by them. It is a fitting declaration of war against the laws of parallel universes just before he leads his country to a naval war against Japan. And in the moments when they are alone, in the room before she sets off for her world, she sees him in his Navy uniform. He is a picture of dignity and strength, traits that are attractive to TaeEul, of course, but he's also a picture of heavy responsibility. Behind him looms his imperial robe, a symbol of the country he is responsible for. And for TaeEul, who had just been pulled back into this thing with Lee Gon, this sight was especially bittersweet. This was the man she was with, and he carried with him an entire country across the universe. He can't just leave and go live with her in her world. And yet he persists to make it work somehow. He tells her, "I will come back to you with honor. Will you wait for me?" Jeong TaeEul nods yes, and when Jeong TaeEul says something, she means it. This time, she is all in with this relationship. She's never been the wishy-washy type, so when she says, "I will see you again," Lee Gon, this was Jeong TaeEul reaffirming his existence. She believes in him now, knows who he is now, and also, by saying his name so boldly like this, she is stepping up and laying her claim on Lee Gon. She was saying, "Okay, you defied the laws of the universe and crossed over to my world to find me. Now I am going to defy the laws of your country and call you by your name because only I can do that because you are mine." So that's the last of their interaction for the sixth episode. So I'm going to end this video right here. If you still want to know how this progresses over into the seventh and the eighth episode when she finally decides to tell Lee Gon that she loves him, just click onto the fourth part. Okay, that's it. Thank you.